All right, what's up, everybody? Today I'm talking to Ashley. Ashley,
Hi.
thank you so much for hopping on.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
For sure, yeah, it's been a wild time. Tell us a little bit about you. Like, who are you? What do you do? Like, what made you want to work with me in the first place?
That's a great question. I am a teacher in Hawaii. I'm a mom, and I had hit a time in my life that I was going through emotional turmoil due to a heartbreak. And I was seeing another therapist who was a talk therapist, and I just really felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And I was scrolling Instagram and getting all of these feeds coming my way, and I was like really into, and I still am into science based anything. And so a lot of the things that were coming across my feed seemed a little woo woo, and I wasn't really into it. But then when you were speaking of the neuroscience part of it, I was like, I was just intrigued enough to follow you and then contact you and see if there was more to IFS than just the woo woo.
What up, guys? My name's Cody. I've got a degree in cognitive neuroscience, and I'm trained in a trauma therapy called internal family systems. I help people navigate that weird space between heartbreak and starting to date again so they can get back out there with clarity, calm, and confidence. Something that you will get to hear firsthand from one of my clients. Her name's Ashley. She's here to chat with us today. She went through our Becoming Her program, and she has such a freaking incredible story. We're going to welcome her here in a second. If you're interested in any of the stuff that we talk about or want to achieve any of the things that Ashley has been able to achieve, check out the description below to go deeper with us, whether it's signing up to be in our next cohort for Becoming Her, or working with me one-on-one, or getting involved in some of our programs and tools and courses. And there's so many free things. It's so much free content that we give. Please check it out in the description below. Well, let's chat with Ashley. Indeed, there is.
Yes.
As we later found out, but that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I always like to hear the before. What was going on, like mentally and emotionally, before we started working together, before I even knew you?
Okay, so I had the very stereotypical divorce happening. I had been with my partner for 20 years, I'm married for 10, had a young daughter, and he cheated on me with another woman, told me he didn't love me anymore and didn't want to. It seemed like a blindsided thing, and I was completely heartbroken, devastated, in a place of just immense depression and anxiety. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. There was a lot going on, and I was definitely very, very sad. So I had never felt that way before. And so it was a real huge transition in my life. And I knew that I needed to do some deep inner work in order to heal and move through it. And I felt very unsatisfied by the talk therapy that I was getting. That was really felt like I was chit chatting with a girlfriend once a week and kind of redigging what had happened that week, but never really resolving anything or growing or learning. So I knew I needed to do something different. And then I found you.
Let's go. What was the space between the like heartbreak, like the divorce, the event, if you will, and kind of realizing I probably should do something. Like I need to do something.
Well, after the split, everything was really rapid, but I knew that I felt like I needed to do some major changes in my life because I was in a pretty unhealthy space, mentally, physically, emotionally, definitely emotionally. And it had been about a year of dysfunction in our relationship. Well, drastic dysfunction in our relationship. And so I wanted to make some big changes, and actually even before I found you, I started working out at the gym 5 6 days a week, and that became my one of the two best decisions I made in that transition. One was getting a physical trainer and starting to work out as much as I possibly could, and the other was finding you and doing IFS therapy. So those two really like pulled me out of the depths of despair. And I think it was in about June that I decided to start the gym at the gym, and then I found you in August, I believe,
Yeah.
and I was well on the way to recovery at that point. After that, shortly thereafter.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What were some of the things going through your mind, like after, like in that phase before meeting me, but like in the middle of the heartbreak in between meeting me? Like, what were the
Oh,
voices in your head, the triggers, the patterns, things like that?
yeah. Even though I was working out, 5 6 days a week, I was still not sleeping at all. Just waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, spiraling the loop of memories or images that I was making up in my head of what I thought my ex-husband was doing with his now girlfriend, who, by the way, moved to Hawaii to be with him and raise our daughter as a co-parent, which was all within a few months. So she was really in my headspace. They were in my headspace, and just like the daily in and out things that I needed to do were nearly impossible. So I was barely eating for weeks and just kind of in a constant state of depression, and highly emotional, cried all the time. Definitely had a hard time just getting through day-to-day activities. So I would just focus on like the bare minimum of what I had to do in order to survive, like go to the grocery store because I have no groceries and I have to feed my daughter, like that kind of thing. And then realizing that, I had thankfully a few friends that were supportive and brought me food and made sure I ate at least once a day. That's great. Slowly I was able to kind of feel more, I got more used to being alone, but I was very lonely. And then, I was definitely in a state of constant spiral and anxiety and depression, and very difficult to get through daily tasks.
Was there in that time, is that when you also got a therapist as well, like the traditional therapist?
Well, I had a therapist for about 6 months, who was just a traditional talk therapist. And at that point, I think she went on vacation or something, and there was a time where I didn't have her for a couple weeks, and I was like, well, she wasn't really making any difference anyway. So I decided I needed to do something different. I really felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't learning anything new. And clearly I was being, in a place where I had to make changes in order to get out of this place. And I couldn't live there. I couldn't be like that. I didn't want to be that person any longer. And it was like, what do I have to do to pull myself out of this?
Damn. What got you there? Was there like a rock bottom moment that kind of got you to that realization, like, damn, I can't stay like this?
I don't think there was one particular moment but I do remember like I would have a few things that I would really focus on that I wanted to get better at or learn more. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to really focus on my fitness and I'm going to just hold on to that. That would be the only thing I'd get out of bed for, is I knew my personal trainer was waiting for me. So I was like, okay, got to get out of bed, got to go to the gym today. Or I was reading a book, Fast Like a Girl, which was about fasting. And then I got my nutrition dialed in and I was kind of working on nutrition simultaneously. And then I just started feeling like glimpses of breaths, air, of like a weight lifting. And then, I just had to keep going. But I think that I always had kind of a positive mindset as far as knowing that I was going to get through it eventually. I just in the moment didn't see any way out sometimes, or I felt like it was just so overwhelming.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Couldn't see it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle at sometimes.
Yeah.
You've got this vague sense you're going to make it, but you're like, oh, I don't exactly know how, but I will somehow.
Yeah. And then of course I was getting hit by all of the algorithm for a newly divorced 40-year-old woman, which was like, you were with a narcissist and all of these, this person was horrible. And, there was some pretty poor choices made on his part, but he's not a narcissist. He's just a human. And we had lots of learning to do as people, but that perpetuates a cycle of self-talk, of blame and not taking responsibility, which I really didn't like. That's not something I want to embody. So I just had to keep reflecting back of like, okay, how can I, number one, get out of this place, and number two, avoid this in the future or grow from this and learn from this in the future. So
I love that. What were you afraid would happen if you didn't make a change? Like if things just stayed the way they were?
That kind of never was an option. Like I knew that I was never going to just stay like that. And I mean, like, I know that people do that. I know people who have never recovered from divorces, but I just knew that was never going to be my story. It was more the morning of the loss, the dream that I had, the pedestal that I had put him on, and just my whole life story crumbling, that I was just mourning that or grieving that loss. But I knew that at some level, I knew that I was not going to be there forever. I was not going to let myself be there forever. I didn't know how, but I knew I wasn't going to be there.
Yeah, I remember that. I could tell that from the first time that we talked. I just knew. I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect.
Like, you probably know more than I do about that.
Hey, it's interesting to hear from your perspective because there's all this. If you think about it, there's more time that I haven't known you than I have known you. And so there's this whole landscape of stuff. Sure, we've gone through probably, there's probably more that I do know now, but from your past, but I didn't know you then.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like I really needed tools to help me navigate the growth that I wanted to see. And I was at a rock bottom place in all states. So I just knew that I had to figure out how to get out. And the
Right.
science behind IFS and your neuroscience background caught my interest and made me want to try it in the first place. So I'm so glad I did.
Hell yeah. I'm glad you did too. So, and I guess that's the biggest thing that when you found me, we started talking. Is that what made you trust me over other like coaches or therapists, or like what was it that kind of put you over the edge?
Definitely your science background, but also there were some really good visuals that you had, the graphs that you showed me, and just like the mapping of where where you wanted to help me get to. And it wasn't about like doing this forever or, always needing these tools, but actually empowering me to get to the next level and to develop them to a place where I could utilize them on my own so that I wasn't always going to be dependent on someone else.
Mm.
And then yeah, it was very empowering to hear that for sure. And then for you to like break down, you had a lot of assessments that I had to take at first. And those were really eye opening because it made me realize how emotionally unaware I was at that point and how much I had to grow in my emotional awareness. And mind you, before this, I had never done therapy at all prior to this one woman who I had seen for about 6 months. And I had always thought that I was just like a pretty stable person, which I was. And I was a very chill person, a very easygoing person. And I never really had anything traumatic happen to me. So I didn't feel like I quote unquote needed therapy. And then when I saw all of the results, I was like, I don't even know how to feel my emotions. How am I supposed to be with somebody that can communicate emotions? I had so much to learn. And so it was really inspiring to kind of dive into how much I had to learn about myself. And that was inspiring.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I didn't I didn't know you quite felt that way, but that's awesome that you felt inspired by that. I could see some people being overwhelmed, but I'm glad that you felt inspired by it. So it was one of the goals that we set when we initially started working. I don't know if you remember that, but improving your like EQ, so
Mm-hmm.
emotional awareness, emotional regulation, all those things was one of our top three goals.
Yeah, and it was because of those tests in a lot of ways, because I didn't realize that I needed to work on that prior to it. Also, being a teacher, I just feel like I love learning. And so when I was learning about, oh, I was also listening to a book at the same time about the brain. What was that book called? It was by the woman who had had a stroke, and she mapped out the four quadrants of her brain. I know you know it.
I know what you're talking about because the four quadrants of the brain thing, I can
Let
see it in my head, but
Yeah. Anyway, I was listening to this book about the brain, and everything was just aligning to a place where I was like, this is the right path. And I ended up teaching an entire unit on the brain to my students that semester. I don't know if you remember that. You did.
yeah, no, I remember because you sent me the thing to like look at.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I will continue to use that curriculum that I created based on this book that I read, what I've learned about IFS and working with you, and then just the power of neuroscience in general. I think it's so empowering and important for children to learn how they can rewire their brain and how they actually learn. So, yeah,
Could not agree more,
you've
obviously.
changed my whole life and a bunch of students and children that you haven't even talked to.
Hey, you're
Yeah.
helping. You're doing it. You're the one in front of them. So, was there anything like any fears or hesitations before jumping in and starting the program?
No, I was all in. I was all in. I definitely was like, all right, let's see if this works. Kind of like maybe a sense of maybe like he had to prove it to me. But I definitely felt excited to try it and I wanted it to work. But I was still like, well, we'll see. And I think it was like one time and I was like, sold.
Sold. Was it?
Magic.
Usually in our first session, I do like some type of manager interview, which people won't necessarily know what a manager is, but you know what it is. And that usually gets people like, "Oh, got it. That's what this is."
Yeah. And I think that through all of our sessions and learning all about my parts and my managers and how all parts are important, and I just see people differently now than I did before. I mean, obviously it's helped my own growth, but I feel like it's helped so many people around me and my interactions with them. And then of course all of my best friends know all about it too. So it's like,
The
can't
besties
help.
don't know what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
Did you have any goals? Like, what were the goals going in, or like like, what did you hope would change?
Well, at the time, I was really scared about independence. I'd never lived, well, I had been with my ex for my entire adult life. I had never imagined life on my own. So I was learning how to survive financially, physically, just the day in, day out things. And of course, that was terrifying at first. And so finding those voices and the messages inside my head where I was doubting my capacity or capability, and then readjusting that or updating those messages and being able to communicate with those parts of me that believed I couldn't do it and showing them that I could. So it was probably, my goals were probably, now I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, what were my goals? To be able to get out of the depression and anxiety, and then also learn how to be a better version of myself.
Yeah. Those were the two biggest ones: enoughness, anxiety and depression, working through your anxiety and depression, and then emotional intelligence was the
Yeah.
other goal that you really were really wanted to work on when we first started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one thing that was really telling is that I hadn't been a very an emotional person prior to doing this. I hadn't felt angry in years. I definitely didn't identify with being angry really ever. And then at some point after all of this heartbreak, anger hit, and it was like a volcano that erupted out of me, and I was so angry. And I had some really good reasons to be angry, but I had no idea how to regulate that and learn from that anger. And it's such an important emotion. So it was just learning how to feel emotions in my body, how to let them go through my body. And I think one of your first lessons that was so important was the 90-second rule, with how emotions can pass through you in 90 seconds. And I did not know that. And then I remember the first time I had that, I felt it happen. I was driving, maybe not the best time to be with this, but I felt some sadness, like a song came on, it reminded me of something, and I kind of felt sad, and I just was like, okay, where is this in my body? And I felt the sadness, and I embraced it, and I just held space for it, and I breathed, and like 60 seconds to a minute and a half later, I felt this huge sense of relief, and just that heaviness of sadness just floated away, and I was fine again. And I'm like, what? I mean, to think that you didn't have to be sad all day long and relive that huge memory over and over and over again and cry for hours and be exhausted. Like, I had no idea that you could just let that emotion come through you, feel it, embrace it, thank it, and then let it go. And that was like such a magical moment to experience that full cycle and then move on. And so, yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. I didn't even know that the 90 seconds was so impactful, but that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's just straight neuroscience too. So that's awesome. What were some of the other tools, like, as we kind of dig into like the process, what we actually did together, like what were some of the biggest tools or frameworks that made a difference, like that 90-second one for you?
Yeah, 90 seconds I've definitely taken forward and use all the time. Act, assess, adjust has been a huge one. Of course, as I got out of depression and started finding my joy and living life again, and feeling myself again, or actually feeling better, and people around me were just saying, wow, you're glowing, you look amazing, you're so happy, what have you done? And I really did start feeling this joy back in my life, maybe for the first time in years. And then I started dating, which was a whole new adventure.
That was a whole new adventure. Because I mean, it's interesting because we really did go through like the heartbreak, or out of heartbreak into getting ready for dating. And then there was a big chunk of dating.
Yeah.
And then the last piece is your relationship. So
yeah.
there's kind of chunks.
And I was really, I mean, in hindsight, I probably was not ready to start dating when I did, but you let me do it anyway.
Hey, actor says just, that's what we're talking about here.
Exactly. And I dove headfirst into it, which was such a exhilarating experience, being that I had never dated before in my entire life. And I was 40 at the time and diving into it wholeheartedly, online dating, the whole thing. And I had a great time. It was amazing. But I learned a lot. I met some really nice people. I didn't have anything horrible, some really hilarious things, but nothing horrible, thankfully, happened. And I, of course, started repeating some patterns. And you're laughing at me.
I'm laughing with you. This is our journey.
Yeah. And it was through, I think, trial and error and act, assess, adjust that I was able to learn and grow from each of those experiences. And yeah, there was a period in time where I was going on tons of dates and doing all the things, meeting lots of people, having great experiences. And then I think simultaneously to that, but I was still reserved in that I hadn't really committed to anyone, or I was just I was going through people like water, and that was fine. But kind of around the same time, one of the cows that my ex-husband and I raised from when it was 2 days old died of old age. He was like 20 years old, and he had been so tame and so loved his whole life. But we all had ridden him. He was very tame, and everyone could ride this bull. Well, he was actually a steer, but we called him, his name was Boule. And he, the farm guardian, everyone who came got to get on the cow and take a picture on this steer. And he was this gorgeous, huge animal, gentle giant. And so we had pictures of just about everybody on this steer, and then he died, and I didn't have a picture on him. I may have ridden him once or twice, maybe, but I never had a picture on him. Pictures of my daughter, the dog, 3 of my friends, like all kinds of people on this cow, and I never got a picture on this cow who had been part of my life for 20 years. And I'm gonna cry just thinking about him. But it made me realize that I hadn't been living my life. I hadn't been embracing the experiences that I could have been. I was on the sideline. And so I realized at that moment that I needed to ride the bull. I needed to get into my life and just like do the things, say yes, make it happen, get in the picture, be in the center stage. Don't think that I was always taking the picture instead of living the life that I had in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I missed out on so many opportunities because I couldn't let myself be center stage, or I didn't let myself be center stage. So anyway, part of act, assess, adjust was living my life and being a part of it and saying yes to the experiences and opportunities that I had in front of me. So that happened. And then at that same time, I had met a guy who was doing all kinds of fun things. And so I just tagged along, and we did a lot of fun things together. And my answer to life was yes. If I had an opportunity, I took it. And it changed the way I lived. It changed the way I interacted with people. It changed my confidence. And I tried new sports, and I went on vacations, and I did things that I never thought I would do, or I only talked about doing, and I made them happen. I made them a reality. Yeah.
I remember that session. It was like, we're like, let's ride the bull. Let's go.
Yeah, ride the bull. It became the analogy saying for a life. I was just going to ride the bull. Every time I had an opportunity, yes, I'm going to ride the bull.
I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, within reason. Let's not do things that are illegal, but yeah.
Toe the line. No, I'm kidding. What was it that prevented you from taking center stage? Do you remember what it was that we had chatted about before?
Yeah, not feeling like I was good enough or I deserved that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was that like, or what was that realization like?
I think I hadn't realized I believed that until that moment. I didn't know. I mean, like maybe I did at some level, but I didn't realize how it was limiting me. And then once I started actually doing the things that I could do and making them happen, I realized that was just completely false. And it was a story I'd been telling myself for probably my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
But I definitely felt like there was a shift between I will cater to everyone and make sure that everyone else is in the picture and everyone else has what they need so that they can do the things that they want to do, to I can do this too. And yeah, I do want you to take the picture of me. And I am going to do this ride or this thing that I'm a little scared of or I feel embarrassed to do because I'm just going to do it.
Mm.
And then you realize it
And you're
doesn't.
worth it. You're worth it. You're like, totally.
Yeah, and all the fears that you have of looking ridiculous or not being able to do it or getting hurt, it's none of those actually happen. And so it all works out. So,
Yeah, that was one of the key moments I have from our time together was the day we talked with that enoughness part, and there was a moment where you realized, oh, this is a part of me that believes I'm not enough. I am enough, but a
yeah.
part of me believes I'm not.
Yeah.
And the moment that you realize the separation of those two things, everything I saw in your face, and like I was just like, man, this stuff doesn't hit me in the chest a lot often, but that moment I was like, holy shit, something just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that all happened around the same time. Anyway, I ended up having a great summer and learning a ton and doing so many fun things. But ultimately, in the end of about a year-long experiment of dating, I just was over it. I hadn't found anyone who I really wanted to be with for numerous reasons. And I realized that I am totally happy on my own and was feeling very satisfied and capable and powerful all on my own. I didn't need someone to be with me in order for me to be happy. I can be happy 100% just me. And that was a huge shift in my I had never been by myself. And so I just felt very attached to every person that came into my life for any length of time. And then once I realized that I was actually totally fine on my own, I was like, forget this dating thing. I don't want to do it. And so I got a dog.
Got a dog. Hey, you
Got a
got to.
pup.
Dude, the other thing in relation to like I can do shit myself that I thought was awesome was your vacation. Like you were
Right.
like, "Oh, I went on a vacation," but it wasn't just a vacation. Like
Right. Well,
talk
and
about that.
okay, so there were lots of little things along the way, but probably Christmas time last year, I had hit a slump where I was just kind of unsatisfied with my romantic relationships. And Christmas time is always hard. It's my birthday, my ex's birthday, Christmas, his girlfriend's birthday, all the things that come up with that. And then I just was feeling a little uninspired. And you had asked me, what is something that you've always wanted to do, but you haven't done it? And I was like, well, I've always wanted to go to Iceland. And you were like, well, why haven't you done it? I'm like, oh, it's so expensive. It's really far away. I don't know. I can't, it's never happened. And then you like pulled up while we were in session, the flights from Hawaii to Iceland, and like you start rattling off like the cost of really going. And I was like, well, I could swing that. Like, I could do that. And then I had, I don't know, 2 weeks till I saw you again. You're like, just look it up and just see if it brings you joy to just explore the option of potentially going there. And maybe that's all you're going to do. And I'd always wanted to go to Iceland to A, ride the Icelandic ponies across the countryside, and B, see the Northern Lights. And I have spring break because I'm a teacher. In March. And so I just like popped on this website that has horse tours and looked up potential horse tours in Iceland. And one fell exactly in the middle of those dates. And I was like, oh my God, it's meant to be. And so then I started researching the different accommodations and different places that I could go and see. And basically was like, this is a great time to come. First of all, there's not a high tourist season. Second of all, you probably will see Northern Lights because it's still dark enough. It's not summer yet, but it's not guaranteed. And then there's this one tour that just so happened to align perfectly with the dates. So I booked the trip and I did it. And I mean, it was such a big deal for me at the time to do a solo trip to Europe or to Iceland. And it changed my life to do it. But it was such a huge step in the believing that I am capable of doing hard things and not just living in this, oh, I wish I could do this. Oh, I want to have this someday. Oh, I've been dreaming about this. Like, do it. Just do it. And that has helped me with so many other things. And I mean, I was talking about having a new car and driving a nicer car and how I wanted to get a new car for years. Not that because my old car wasn't good or it didn't work, but just because I was feeling like I needed something new and I wanted a new car, and now I have a fucking new car. Just
Let's go.
do it. Like, go to the dealership, find the car, buy the car, do the thing.
Ride the damn bull.
Ride the bull, do the solo trip to Iceland and ride the Icelandic ponies to the countryside and see the northern lights and experience life and just love life. And that's what I've been focusing on. And then shortly thereafter, probably because I wasn't looking for anyone, I did find someone who...
Whoa, I can't believe it.
Shocking. The cliche happens again. So I found a great guy and we've been dating since about then. And it's been going really well.
A tool that we kind of skipped over, we subtly mentioned, is IFS.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your perspective and like journey with IFS in part to work in IFS, and like just share your thoughts on like what you initially thought and like what it was like to learn some of those things and the tools you learned from IFS.
Yeah, IFS is life-changing for me. I think that when people talk about like inner child work or, learning how to heal your trauma or identifying cycles and patterns that happened in your early childhood, that was always interesting to me. But then in my experience I should back up. I didn't think that I had much trauma because I grew up in a very loving, supportive home with parents who gave me everything that I needed and are still married and are still supportive of me. I didn't think that I had any childhood trauma, so to speak, that needed healing. But what I didn't realize is that happens no matter what.
Yeah.
It happens in school. I mean, just life develops those beliefs and thoughts and patterns and coping mechanisms before your prefrontal cortex is really mature enough to know how to handle them. And those coping mechanisms are largely unhelpful as an adult and a lot of times impede your ability to handle situations. And so when I was starting to learn about IFS, I realized not only that I had a lot of healing to do, but I had a lot of parts that were working without me knowing all the time. And for me to now acknowledge and feel those parts come into play and be able to have a conversation with them in a way. And I know that sounds weird, like I'm having a conversation with a part of me, but when I feel anxiety come up and I'm able to find that part of me in my body and thank it and hear it and validate it and hold it and give it space to feel heard and important, just as a little child, as you would with a child, then I'm able to navigate that in a self-led way instead of an anxious way. And that has been a huge, huge change. And I also, to step back a little bit, I was learning about this type of gentle parenting because I had a young kid. And so I was learning a lot about building a child or growing a child, raising a child, I should say, who is...
You grew one too. I mean,
I grew her. And then I wanted to raise a child who had more emotional intelligence than I had. And part of that was for me as a parent, learning how to validate her emotions and then hold space for her when she was having meltdowns. And then watching the difference between when I did that versus when I told her, look, you're making a big fuss over nothing. You need to get over it. Which honestly is kind of what you think a lot of the times as a parent. You're like, okay, it's the blue cup. Yes, it is. Not the red cup. Drink the water. But you can't do that. And when you do, just take a moment to, oh gosh, you're really disappointed. I can tell that wasn't what you wanted. And let them be heard and validated. They're like, oh yeah, now I can drink my blue cup. It's fine. It's like all better. Versus a huge meltdown. I was learning about this premise through parenting. Shout out to Big Feelings. What is the parent group? Now I can't even think of it.
You sent me it. I forgot it too. Big Little Feelings or something.
Big Little Feelings. Yeah. The Big Little Feelings group on Instagram really helped me with learning how to parent better. And then that aligned completely with IFS as well, because we're just children in adult costumes. And so learning how to communicate with my parts like I would with my daughter, with empathy and giving her space and giving myself space to feel those feelings and then be grateful for them was like a huge shift to I don't want to feel anxiety anymore. That needs to stop. I'm angry with that part of me and it needs to go away.
Yeah.
but it doesn't go away when you push it down. It doesn't ever go away. None of them go away. So learning how to communicate with them and regulate them and then shift to a self-led place where I feel calm and I'm curious and confident has shaped the way that I go through the day.
If you were going to explain IFS like from a 10,000 foot view to someone who doesn't know about it, like how would you word it in your phrasing?
I think of IFS as a way of better understanding the way that our brains work and our mechanisms for coping in life. And when you have parts leading your everyday actions and emotions only, then you are not really in alignment with your true self. So learning how to work with your parts and show them how grateful you are, but also how you can handle the situation in a different way or in a better way now that you are an adult and you do have a fully developed prefrontal cortex is kind of the goal. So it's
Nice.
learning to work with your parts in a way that helps you behave in a way that's aligned with your true self.
Beautiful. Parts language, like the language of parts, is a really powerful part of IFS from my perspective. Like just learning, like a part of me is anxious, a part of me is sad, instead of like identifying with the emotion is
Mm-hmm.
like huge. How has that parts language helped in your day to day life and relationships and interactions?
I definitely use that when I'm feeling any type of emotion. Part of me is really sad about this, or a part of me feels worried to have this conversation, or however, a part of me is triggered when blank, blank, blank. But it's also helped me professionally when I'm working with students and especially challenging students. It's shifted the way that I see their behavior because instead of seeing it as a child who is disruptive or a child who needs attention, I'm seeing a part of you needs something right now. A part of you needs to wiggle. A part of you needs to run around in the yard for a second, or a part of you is really angry with having to follow these directions, or a part of you really doesn't want to learn today and doesn't want to be in school. And that's okay. I get it. And having that language shift in my mind and using it with students has helped them. I think, has helped them recognize that, yes, a part of them doesn't want to be in school or doesn't want to do math right now, but a part of them loves to be in school. A part of them really can't wait to do this activity with their partner. They just don't want to sit through the instructions because they just have their brain in someplace else and they're not wanting to be there at that moment, or a part of them isn't wanting to be there. So it's really shifted the way that I interact with my students and the language that I use with them when we are in a discussion of something that's not going well. I have to have the okay, this is the line. I'm laying down the line. We need to get through this activity, and a part of you is really struggling with that. What do you need? So,
Right.
I mean, that has been an impact, but also just with my relationship with my now boyfriend, being able to have conversations with him that are meaningful and deep and would have normally made me very emotional, and I can kind of step back, take a deep breath, and recognize that a part of me is feeling this way, or a part of me is feeling whatever.
Yeah. That unblending process. That's beautiful.
Also, the managers and the firefighters, I see them in everyone, including myself, and I feel like a lot more empathy for them. So if I can see someone with an addiction or that's a people pleaser, which is something that I am too, or a part of me is, and I see that and I'm like, oh, that's just a manager or a firefighter. We're working on some other thing that there's something deeper going on, and it's not like, oh gosh, that's who that person is. It's just a part of them, and
Yeah.
it's probably working really hard to keep them feeling safe.
100%. That's as a huge empathy booster where you can get to that specific realization. It's that's powerful. I love that. Was there something about the process of the program that surprised you as you were going through it?
The immediate relief, the immediate change. Like I didn't think it was going to be such a I don't want to say it's an easy fix because there's a lot of effort that goes into it. But when we've had conversations with my parts or even my exiles, and I've come in so many times with polarized parts where I'm conflicted and confused and I don't know which way to go or what to do. And we've had these conversations with these parts. And after our session, it's just like I felt a million times better. The clarity that comes from having that and finally figuring out what yourself really needs to do and that you're capable of doing that is just like so, it's such a relief. It's such a relief to let that turmoil, that inner turmoil that you feel stuck in, and you can be stuck in for so long, and it can go away just like that. And now I have the tools to do a lot of that on my own. So that's even more exciting. But to be able to feel that relief through this work and to get to the other side of it so quickly has been a huge surprise.
What a wonderful surprise.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that you, like a first time that you noticed like something's actually different? Do you remember a first time you noticed a shift? Like you noticed that you were actually behaving differently after we started working together?
I definitely remember a lot of people, especially people who were close to me, commenting on my energy, being a lot more positive, being like they said that I looked like I was glowing. I had a whole different aura about my just daily energy that people around me noticed maybe before I did. I definitely noticed the shift in my sleep as I started to sleep again. And just, I think that one of the tools that that I didn't mention yet was writing in my journal daily. Daily journaling and a grateful journal. I think those were two really huge parts of shifting my focus and attention from negativity to positivity, and just writing one thing that I was grateful for every day. And I did that for a very, very long time. And that really helped shift my inner dialogue from one that was so in despair to one that was like really excited about life. I don't know if I recognize or remember a specific moment when that hit me, but I do remember having interactions with other people and then feeling parts come up into my awareness, my own parts, and going, that's not me, that's a part of me. And then being able to like take some deep breaths and manage those parts in the moment to have a conversation. And so and I could see parts in other people too, especially if they were heated or upset about something. I was able to recognize that's a very hurt child that has something they need to say. They're not having a good day. And that's a part of them that is needing some kind of something. So I saw that with conversations professionally as well as just my inner relationships. But I don't think I remember a specific moment. Do you remember a moment?
Some of the big ones that I kind of remember was the dating phase. I feel like there was a lot of discernment that you would come into sessions with. Here are some of the parts that I noticed potentially in them, but here, more importantly, here are a lot of the ones that came up within me. And then we were able to work with those parts, have conversations with those parts, and then you were able to go back out and execute or like act again with that discernment. And we had a few sessions where it was going back and forth like that, which was beautiful. And I loved it. But I just remember that's exactly it. That's it right there. How it should be done. Like running an experiment.
Yeah. And it did. It felt like an experiment. And we'd even talk about it like that. Like, okay, now we're going to try this. Let's see how it goes. I'll check in next week or 2 weeks from now. And it was acknowledging different parts in them or different coping mechanisms that other people have, and then how I responded to it. And then attachment styles came into place or play with those interactions as well. But, it was all our parts trying to keep us safe from something that really hurt us. Every single person has those parts playing in some way in their lives. And so their natural tendencies, whether it was to pull away or to get really close or something in between, was very evident as I started to get to know people or myself better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you talked about trying therapy. There was the social media stuff you were watching, like reading books and things like that. How did working through this program with me feel different than those things?
I dove fully into healing when I realized that I was not okay with where I was. I was like jumping in headfirst to everything I could possibly do, whether it was podcasts, books, like I said, the working out. And then when I found you, I think that the hugest shift came where I knew that this was going to be the key, was specific tools that I can use to learn and grow immediately. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to work on this and maybe get a little bit better in 6 months. No, it was like immediately there were tools I had to help me every single day. And there's new things that come up all the time, and that's life. But I have like a foundation to be able to navigate those now, no matter what happens. And I catch myself quickly when I'm starting to go down a road that's not self-led, and go, okay, that's a belief that I had. And now this is the belief that I know is true, or whatever the case may be. But I think that at some point, really early on, not only what you were saying worked, but it aligned with science. And I was finding just immediate relief from the short period of time of working with you. And then after that, we just dove deeper and deeper and deeper, which was so fun for me because I just loved learning more and more about myself and about my brain and how people function. And it was fascinating, not just for my own growth, but for me to understand others as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love how many times you've mentioned that, like, the stuff you worked on helped you for sure, but then also started to help you understand others and be and relate with others more effectively as well. That's beautiful.
For sure.
So let's fast forward. Let's talk post program, if you will. We've talked a little bit about this, but what's life like been after the program? I know it's not been long, maybe a few weeks, but what's it been like?
I mean, I feel like the last couple of months that we have met, it's been very casual anyway. So I wasn't necessarily bringing to you like a whole bunch of things that we needed to work through. But I think that it just has continued with this undercurrent of understanding for myself and acknowledgement of my own emotions and regulating those, which has also in part helped my partner in dealing with his own things that he's dealing with, and helping others around me, my best friends, with things that they're dealing with. Not because I'm an IFS therapist, but because I can talk them through at least the understanding that I have. And that's been pretty cool and inspiring, but also just, living life in a way that is fulfilling and focused on my own journey and my own path. I think that I just feel a sense of accomplishment, and I feel very powerful and excited for life. And I know that no matter what happens moving forward, I'm good, and I've got myself. And something else that you've said many times is that if something doesn't work out with a partner, then that means it wasn't right for you. If it wasn't right for them, then it wasn't right for you. And that was a hard thing to swallow at first, because I was somebody who wanted it to work out no matter what, even if there was every red flag in the world. I was like, I will not let go. And that was the anxious attachment side of me coming out. And I was not capable of accepting that there would be something that I wanted that wasn't good for me. But now, looking at even my relationship that I have now, I would be very sad if it didn't work out, but I would know 100% that if it didn't work out, it was the right thing for me, and that I'm going to be okay. So that has been a great mindset to have, because it detaches me from the need for something else. I'm good. And if this is happening and it's all good, then we'll keep going. But if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. And that's probably for the best.
I love that.
And we're doing really well right now. And I'm just living in the present and not letting myself get too worked up about the future and what ifs and all of those things that can come up, because those are just parts of me that are there trying to protect me and underneath the surface.
Yes, we could chat with them too.
Yes.
What's something that you thought you'd never get back, but you did now that you're on the other side?
Oh, I've gained so many things I never had. Confidence. I'm so much braver than I once was. My emotional awareness is definitely growing still, but like leaps and bounds from where I was before. I am independent. I know that I'm capable of doing hard things. I have grown immensely in my ability to just be happy alone in solitude. And I just feel like my whole life is different. If I would say that I don't think that I necessarily gained something that I didn't think I would ever have again, except for maybe joy. But I don't even think that I really was living in a state of joy beforehand. I was content before, but maybe content in an unaware way, because I didn't know what I was missing out on.
Wow. It's that you didn't know what you didn't know type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that I was happy, but then when I look back on it, I was like living in a cloud. And the treatment that I was accepting as good was not satisfactory at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I have way
Right.
high expectations for the people that I have in my life.
As you should. Hell yeah. I
Yeah,
like that. Is there what's something that feels possible now that didn't before?
anything. Sky's the limit.
I love that.
I mean, it really is. I feel like that I believe in myself in a way that I never did. I can do it not with help, but by myself, which I didn't know was possible before. And having a healthy relationship that I would want to model for my daughter is a possibility now. Having long lasting joy and living my best life is definitely happening, and pursuing goals that I never thought I would even have. I don't know what those goals, like the goals are still evolving. So that's exciting too.
Mm, it is. And last thing too, the most recent development is you're in a loving, healthy relationship. Like, what's that been like now that now that you're on the other side of a lot of the work and the heartbreak and the dating and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's been a trip, a learning lesson for sure. Um, to have, well, one of the issues that I had in my previous relationships is not having boundaries and not having the confidence to speak up or to even share about things that made me feel uncomfortable or even acknowledge things that made me feel uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
or upset. I can have those conversations a lot more easily. I have to be thoughtful about them. And as I'm doing them, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening. We're doing it. This is the real thing. And just having those kinds of conversations without the worst case scenario, which I thought was going to happen. You know, oh, this person's not going to love me anymore if I say that I don't like something, or if I say no to something, then it's over. We're done. And that's really not the case. It doesn't happen like that. But in my mind, I thought it did. So I'm a recovering doormat, and I
What a mental image.
I was so a doormat. I have I feel so loved and supported, and it's a lot more connected than I think I even was with my husband of 20 years. In a very short period of time, I feel like we have grown to know each other in a deeper way. And it's not always perfect, but it is also something that feels good and it feels right. And then there's the full circle of talking about things that don't feel good to then get to the other side and make sure that you get to that repair. And yeah, I feel very excited, and we're pretty aligned and compatible, and yeah, things are going really well.
So you became the partner you wanted to find and then found them. And then now you're working on really, it sounds like being open and vulnerable and letting him really, really know like the you, not just the please you and hope I can like
Win
make
your
everything
love.
right.
Yeah,
Win your love. Yeah.
I'm going to convince you to love me because I'm amazing. And I'm going to show you that by doing everything I can for you. Which, I mean, there's wonderful things about that too, but that part of me is not needing to work on overtime to earn the love or attention that I thought I needed to do. Now it
Mm,
just comes freely.
beautiful. Without strings, without covert contracts, like resentment, like all the things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without having to feel like I'm constantly trying to earn my worth. It's the worth is already inherently in me.
Mm, yes, it is. Hell yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. All right, last few things here. Like if somebody is watching this and they were where you're at, scared, anxious, kind of doubting themselves, what would you say to them?
What makes you feel that way? I would probably I probably ask them where they're feeling that, and try to get to the root of what makes them feel that way or what makes them think that. And that belief started somewhere, and they can identify that and then rewire their
Mm,
brain to realize that it's different now. They are able to grow through this. That it is possible. And yeah, just to get curious about what makes them feel that way.
what Ash doesn't know is that she will be offered a job as a MBB coach one day to do IFS with clients. That's great. Leading with curiosity. I love that. Is there any advice you'd offer them based on like from just on your journey if they're
Oh, I
where you were at?
I definitely would advise them to find an IFS therapist. I've sent many people your way, but you're too busy.
Appreciate it.
So I would definitely recommend that they seek a therapist that does IFS work, and to just inspire them that it can get better. And it is so hard to see out of the cloud when you're in that dark place, but to not give up on the hope that life happens for a reason, and whatever this is that you're going through is going to be there. You're going to get to the other side, and it's going to be better than you ever expected.
Post-traumatic growth, baby. Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, last one here. What would you honestly tell someone who is thinking about working with me?
Do it. You won't regret any of it. It's so worth it.
Let's go.
And if you're
Anything
getting
else?
divorced, just put that cost into your divorce settlement plan. Just have your ex pay for it.
That's smart. I'll have to start suggesting that.
I did it. I was like, you fucked me up. You're going to pay for my fixing it. No, he didn't. I mean, maybe partially, but no, that's just a joke. But it did work out that way.
That's beautiful. Cool. I love that. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, being open to share, and like sharing your journey with us. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people in a lot of places. So especially people who are kind of stuck in that weird gap between heartbreak and dating, like where you were kind of at before they're ready to, and just they're not sure how to move forward. So I appreciate you sharing with us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for changing my life. I'm Ashley 2.0 because of you.
You're actually 2.0 because of you.
Well,
but I appreciate it.
Yes, I had to do the work, but yes, you led me through it.
You did 100%. I accept the gratitude. I got to work on my receiving too. So practicing what I'm preaching. So if you're watching this and you relate to what Ash shared, you might be in your own gap, which is okay. Check it. There's a link below if you want to learn more about programs and how to work with me and all that kind of stuff. We'd love to have you guys check that out and potentially work with you. Anything you want to leave the people with, Ashley?
Let me think about it. Never stop learning, and know that you are worthy of great things, and life just keeps getting better.
Boom. I'm glad you're a teacher. Put that in the brains of those little people, please. Couldn't have said it better. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. Again, if you guys want to check out our programs or anything about Mind Brain Body Lab, check out the link in the description. Thank you so much. Peace.
Peace.
All right, let's give Ashley a big thank you for opening up and sharing all this vulnerable stuff with us today. I really appreciate it. And I had an amazing time working with her through her program and all of the incredible people that I get to work with. I know that this is probably going to resonate with a lot of people who are in the same place, stuck in what I call the gap, that weird space between heartbreak and dating again, okay? And you just don't know what to do. You don't know how to move forward. If you're watching this and you relate to what Ashley was talking about, you can apply to the Becoming Her program as well. There's one-on-one versions, there's a 63-day version, there's courses, there's groups, there's all sorts of stuff. There's free blogs, there's free guides, there's so many things that we offer to help you navigate this gap at any price level, at any point that you want to interact with us, okay? We walk you through step by step the same exact process that Ashley went through to rebuild her sense of self, her confidence, and her ability to love again. If that's something you're interested in, click the link in the description below, and I'll see you on the inside. Peace.